One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Whoa, socialism and neighborliness are analogous to each other? That is Kamala Harris's VP pick. Welcome back to the JP Rex channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters because truth conquers. You know who is not a freedom fighter? Based on his track record, in fact, he abandoned his military platoon before he was shipped off to Iraq, is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz newly announced Kamala Harris VP pick. It's kind of weird. The VP picked her VP. By the way, I don't think she picked anything. I don't think she has any power, and I don't think she ever will. That's what makes her dangerous and this guy dangerous. They're not in positions of power. They are puppets. We should fear people in power who are weak. We should be comforted by people in power who are strong. The weak people, they are the ones that evil preys on. They will do the bidding of the puppet masters because they are simply puppets, which means they don't have their conscience, morals, or values in the way to stand for something greater, which is standing for the people. Instead, they will do the bidding. They'll do things like turn in their neighbors. In fact, Tim Walz did that. How so? Well, as the Minnesota governor, he oversaw the Summer of Love, which he supported. Do you remember how Minneapolis was burning down? Well, the Minneapolis mayor, also a Democrat, but he was sensible enough to say, we need help. There's riots in our cities. It's burning down. And Governor Walz, now VP pick for Kamala Harris, blocked his requests for support to uphold law and order. And he implemented a turn your neighbor in hotline. How so? Well, DC Drano on Twitter exposed this. Holy communism. Tim Walz established a snitch program during COVID where people report neighbors for violating his authoritarian stay-at-home orders. Turn in your neighbors. Who else has done things like that throughout history? Never the good guys. This is straight out of Fidel Castro's playbook for anyone that spoke out against the regime. Here's what you hear when you call the hotline that Tim Walz set up for people to turn in their neighbors for not staying locked in their houses because his authoritarian regime told them to.
Hello, you have reached the Department of Public Safety stay-at-home hotline. The information you leave is considered public information. At the tone, please leave the following information: your name, your callback number, how the stay-at-home order is being violated,
What's your neighbor doing?
and where the stay-at-home order was violated. Thank you.
Record your message at the tone.
Great, I will. Record your message to turn your neighbor into an authoritarian regime because they were doing things like being free people, walking in their front yards, or God forbid, the sidewalk. This, my friends, is not a yellow flag. It is not a red flag. This is a Nazi flag. Worse than a red flag, I dare say. By the way, you can see this is from June of 2022. COVID started in March of 2020. That's when they first tried their lockdown. So this is 2.25 years later when there's beyond shadow of doubt, like everything's fine. And he still had the turn in your neighbor hotline. Also worth noting, this is the scene from Minneapolis after several nights of riots that were protected and approved of by the governor. They're not riots, they're peaceful protests. These are important people doing important things. Well, whose opinion really matters about Tim Walz, a person who potentially could be president if Kamala wins a free and fair election? Where'd all those votes come from at 3 a.m.? We need some answers. Well, we're not going to give you answers. Okay, well, I guess she won. They threw Biden under the bus. The deep state, the cabal. By the way, we need to start calling her Kamala. She's a puppet for the cabal. Kamala, they don't care about her. They didn't care about Biden. I would guess they want to throw her under the bus too. Not because Tim Walz has some kind of power that, it's like, no, they want him to be a puppet too. They want a weak, powerless person who's just power hungry in office. But he looks the part better. Everyone knows she's a clown brain. So just imagine if Kamala wins a rigged election and then Tim Walz actually becomes president. This guy could be presiding over the country, which is more so like he's standing in front of the people that try to preside over the country. But nonetheless, it would be terrible. And she would be terrible. Vote Trump, maybe consider Kennedy, 2024. Just saying. But the Associated Press, their opinion really matters here. Who is Tim Walz? This article is not even worth reading because it's just propaganda. But I just perused through this to show you the obvious. The mainstream media is running cover for this guy. There is plenty of crap on him. And I'm not talking about like stuff in his personal life. I'm talking about the real concerning crap is what he has publicly done, implementing radical ideologies on par with Kamala Harris. They make great running mates. His personal life, like, yeah, you'll see it's circulating. He got a DUI in 1995, I believe it is. I don't care. Like, please don't drink and drive. I care that that law was broken, that he could have killed people. But as far as like, oh, he's not a good candidate because of that. It's like, no, he's not a good candidate because of public-facing policies. And the fact that he is just a puppet for demonic, unelected people trying to run our country and control our lives. That's what matters to me. What else don't they want you to know about this guy? Well, he signed a little bill, while governor of Minnesota, still governor, I guess, where he declared all illegal immigrants get driver's license. We gotta protect the illegals. Here he is proudly signing it into law. You're here illegally. Well, of course, we're gonna provide you a driver's license. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, do you ever wish you looked better, felt better, or had more energy? Well, your health is the most important asset you'll ever have. But unfortunately, our normal healthcare system is nothing more than disease management. But if you want more than that rather low bar, then health optimization is what you need. And nobody does it better than Merrick Health. They're who I use. You see, regular healthcare oftentimes denies you the most progressive treatment options, denies you comprehensive lab work, and it all lags years behind the current research. But luckily, Merrick Health represents a paradigm shift in how we approach medicine, empowering you to maximize your health, longevity, and performance with the confidence that comes from having experts in your back pocket. That's why I use and trust Merrick Health with my own health optimization. From hormonal enhancement and cognitive performance to body composition, Merrick Health has you covered, all from the comfort of your home. Merrick's optimization package is the same elaborate panel that I get for myself. And with those test results, the Merrick Health clinical team optimizes my personal protocol. To get the exact same panel and medical oversight that I get for myself, click the link in the video description or go to merrickhealth.com/JPReacts and use discount code JPReacts to get 10% off your package. Enjoy. Now back to the video.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
Take a look at that crowd. By the way, I love this guy's look. Look at this old fart, like old white guy, vice presidential candidate for the party of diversity. Does diversity really matter to you guys? Yeah. That's why we have a old white guy. Best VP. Yeah, we have an old white guy. But Kamala is black. Don't look at that video where she says she's Indian. She's not really Indian. Listen to her talk in Atlanta, okay? But then this is worth looking at. This is why he all of a sudden has a nickname that's sticking, which I love. Tampon Tim. Why is he Tampon Tim? Well, Tim Walz signed into law in Minnesota. All schools and the boys' restrooms have to supply the boys with tampons. Got to put tampons in all boys' restrooms in the schools. Tampon Tim. Walz signs bill requiring schools to stock period products in boys' bathrooms. I don't know if this guy hasn't heard. Boys do not get periods. Why haven't we had to restock the boys' tampons? Never been a boy in history that's needed to use one. All right, well, I'm glad I put taxpayer money to work requiring it. Expect more of this if I'm VP, ushering in an ideological agenda that's dangerous for your protection. And you might say, well, what's his take on predators around kids? Well, he not only supports children going to LGBTQ pride rallies, where we've seen time again very inappropriate sexual behavior is acted out around children, but he also supports children marching in the parade and supports children marching in the parade with his name on their shirts, as you can see here. Trump campaign is quick on the draw. Take a look at Trump's ad smearing Tim Walz with, honestly, nothing but reality.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms?
It's pretty weird.
Or weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills, Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
I love that. I also love how Trump is owning the term weird, how the media in lockstep said, we need to call the Trump-Vance campaign weird. Okay, everybody, 1, 2, 3, go. Call him weird. And they all started doing it. So Trump just owns that term, steps in their frame like, all right, I'll play ball with your stupid ball. I love that. What's J.D. Vance have to say about Tim Walz?
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
That would be fact check true. By the way, seeing the MAGA logo on J.D. Vance's plane, I think Kamala, and Tim Walz should have MAGA be their campaign slogan. This stands for something different. Make America garbage again. Because that's exactly what they not only want to do, that's what they've done. And one more time, hey, Tim, you're not just a closeted socialist looking to destroy the fabric of what makes America great, are you?
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Well, no, one person's socialism is an absolute un-American thing, Tim. Socialism is destructive. Only 100% of the time throughout history. By the way, look at where he said that. He said that on the White Dudes for Harris Zoom call. There was no testosterone on that call, so he just outed himself. He's got ovaries, apparently. White Dudes for Harris. What a beta son of a... Stay tuned. I've got a comedy video coming out any day out. It might be out by the time you watch this. A parody of the White Dudes for Harris Zoom rally. So basically, anyone who was on that call is what I'm calling out in that video. Stay tuned for that, including this guy. But he wouldn't also be, like, supporting terrorists, would he? I mean, he's open border, but, like, I'm sure he doesn't want America destroyed with an open border. He wouldn't support the thing that will destroy America, have an open border that also lets terrorists into the country. So let's take a look at this video of him taking down the Minnesota flag and putting up a Somalia flag, and I'll tell you why that is terrorist supportive in just a second.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, that's so genuine. It's like Kamala making a video. Yep. Got it in the hole. That's what she said.
There, that's better.
Yeah, I bet you can't wait to do that for the American flag, too. DC Drano. This Justin. Did you know an FBI report revealed Minneapolis's Somali community has become the Islamic terrorist recruitment capital of the U.S.? 45 Somalis have left to join the ranks of either Somalia-based Islamic insurgency al-Shabaab something, or the Iraq and Syria-based ISIS. And most of them attend a single mosque in Minnesota that Tim Walz frequents and supports. All right. And we saw him just take down the state flag to put up a Somalia flag. Well, that wouldn't appear to be what it actually is, would it? The Kamala Harris campaign, according to Uncensored AI, the political ideology that most aligns with is socialism and communism, which she just positively said something good about socialism. It's like neighborliness. Yeah, if you're a neighbor that turns in his neighbor like your hotline lets you do, you idiot. But otherwise, what political ideology does the Harris-Tim Walz campaign most align with? Well, take a look at this. Recently, I had a chance to sit down with Kamala Harris herself. Here's what she had to say.
Recently, when asking Uncensored AI, what political ideology does Kamala Harris most align with, it said, Kamala Harris's policies and political stances most align with socialism or even communism. Do you consider this true?
Not for us, no.
Well, what political ideology would you say you most align with?
A terrorist organization.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be more accurate.
I hate it when satire becomes reality. Seeing the way this guy has supported a terrorist capital of the U.S. and even taking down his own state flag to put up their flag kind of makes you wonder. Has this satire become this guy's reality? And lastly, we'll close with this that they probably don't want you to think too much about. Charlie Kirk put up a post on Twitter about Tim Walz. It was weirdly different than what the Associated Press published. You can read the whole thing for yourself. It's worth reading. But this part certainly stands out amongst the other information we've already covered in speaking to Tim Walz. You have the most radical abortion laws in the country, 0 limits. Every year, 5 to 6 babies are born alive and then murdered legally under laws you support. That's disgusting. And also check out his military record. There are some rather cowardly, unsavory things and stolen valor that he is being accused of doing, and the reality looks like it adds up as such. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz for 2024. Let's make America garbage again, or vote differently. The choice is yours, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. Let me know in the comments below your initial thoughts on Tim Walz. Today was the first day I heard about the guy, and what I'm hearing that's not propagated by the mainstream media makes it make sense why the vice president would choose this guy to be her vice president. I'll look forward to seeing you next time, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. In the meantime, stay awake.